Y'all, welcome back to Knitting in Our Jeans. I'm Liz.
I'm Carolyn.
And I'm back.
Yay. With a voice.
I was traveling and then I got sick and...
I think you have too much cat, if you really want to know.
No, that essentially, what the doctor said was it was probably because I did not double allergy med myself before going and hanging out with my friends who have cats.
All right, so
it's
cat related.
Well, and then I just turned in, and then probably got, I had some sort of virus because it definitely turned into a sinus infection.
Yes.
And then it dropped into my throat, and which meant I have no voice. I'm still a little froggy, but not a ton.
No, it's much better.
Yeah.
Much better.
But
you sounded like somebody entirely different before.
Yeah. That was fun during that call on Monday. Literally, we had a Lenten study for book club for church, and I had already texted Mom and our priest that my voice was like gone and I was going to be a little quiet. But I made a few comments, and apparently, because I was online, a bunch of people in the room were like, "Wait, is that Liz?" And it's like, yeah, it is. So
I didn't talk all day so I could say these things.
Exactly. I was very quiet all day Monday, so that I had some voice. But I finished a few things while I was away.
Excellent.
So first, finished a pair of socks. These are the sock weight. They're the sport weight socks. They ended up being a little shorty, but that's okay. They're still good.
As long as you're happy with them?
Yeah, I wore them with my brown boots, and the cuffs were above the top of the boot. It actually looked kind of cute.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I finished those, and then I finished a long-awaited whip.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Stitch.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Really think my friend will like it.
Did you finish the baby blanket?
I did.
Okay.
A while back.
Right. Did you mail it off?
No, it's in the bag. This has to get... But I was like, once I decided to finish this, I was like, all right, let's just get them both done and in together.
Got it.
So I'm going to iron this tonight here because I can't find my iron at my new place. I'm also going to look and see if currently it is being stored in parental storage. If my iron, big iron.
It's possible.
My Rowenta. Yeah.
My Rowenta broke.
My Rowenta didn't, and I don't know where it is.
Well, mine
so
did.
I'll go downstairs.
Mine's not steaming, so... And I've tried to run vinegar through it. It's not steaming, so I think my next... When I lose weight down to where I want to start sewing again... I was doing fine till this weekend. I'll talk to you about this weekend. First, I went off track with dinners. And then the drive back today was stretching into 7 hours.
Yeah, I noticed it was...
And I finally, by the time I got to... Oh, what's the poet who wrote about a tree in Brooklyn?
Molly Pritchard?
No, it's north of there.
Grover Cleveland?
No. I think it begins with a J. Joshua Tree or...
James Joyce.
James Joyce. James somebody. Anyway, I then got a bag of chips and Oreo cookies. I couldn't stand it anymore. But I'm back on the program. My breakfast had been fine.
Good.
So bananas and my cup of coffee with my protein shake in it, which makes a mocha coffee, which is delicious. And lunches were fine. I went off track with dinner. Something about being away and away. And I brought my exercise pants, my socks, my sneakers.
Not your top.
Right. I had no top to go and sweat in. And the place where we stay does not have a store to buy a top. I was with my mother until after dark.
Yeah.
And since she is in Springfield, Virginia, where I have not lived in Virginia since I went to UVA, and that was Charlottesville. It wasn't Springfield, Virginia. I was born in Alexandria, but that was 66 years ago. No, I was 4 years old when I left Alexandria. That's what I mean. So it's 66 years since I've been
I was
living.
like, how? You are not tired enough to be doing math wrong.
No, I was
You
4
also
years
know
old.
how old you are.
I was 4 years old when we left.
Oh, okay.
So, and as a 4-year-old, you don't drive that much,
No.
you know. In fact, when I was there and 4 years old, we used to get to Duke Street via a culvert, and they laughed hysterically. It's like the size of a Quonset hut. But when you're 4 years old, this thing is very impressive.
Yes.
It's like, damn, we're driving through a pipe.
Yes.
Anyway, the pipe is now multi-tiered highway.
Yes.
Which is a long story about why I didn't go out and just buy a shirt, you know, because my mother was a princess this weekend, which is fine.
Which is good.
She was making all kinds of pronouncements, such as, I receive visitors between 4 and 5 in the afternoon. Now, I don't think anybody else knows this.
This woman told the people that she used to know in the facility that she did not want visitors.
Right.
For like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, she has been saying, I don't want visitors.
So, you know, now she's surprised when no one stops by. I said, no one knows when you're receiving. 1, and 2, they come and get her for dinner around 4:30, so she's really only receiving between 4 and 4:30. I, of course, never ask. I just show up and say, Mom, wake up, it's your daughter, Carolyn. Yesterday she introduced me as her sister, Carolyn.
Okay.
So, move over, Jerry. I'm also now one of the girls.
I think Jerry would say, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, well, you know, I've been called Jerry so much, I was surprised. Well, anyway, it was fine. Yes. It was fine. It was fine. The nurse just looked at me and I went, daughter?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So I went down very quickly.
Yes.
Because my mother had called me on Thursday afternoon to ask if I was okay. I said, I'm fine. Why? She goes, well, I just woke up and I thought I had a dream that you were not good. I went, all right. And during the conversation, she sounded extremely breathy. So I said, all right, something weird is going on. And I'm going to go down and see what
just so that everyone understands what just happened, she just dropped the ball of yarn that she was winding, and that's why she went off screen.
Sorry about that. Yes, it went into the table. So I went down to see her. I contacted my one brother who knows which way the parade is going. And this is after 2 weeks ago, she had an event where they called the rescue squad. Mm-hmm. And the next day, all her values were fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went down. She's still breathy.
Yeah.
And they basically told me that her heart's not great, and neither are her kidneys, which they weren't good when we brought her over there. So this is not a surprise. She then proceeds to tell me over this past weekend, she's mad at my one brother who knows, the parade brother, who knows which way, you know.
I know.
She's mad at him because he moved to Richmond. Now, he drives up once a week to see her and do other business things because his company has an office in D.C. So once a week he drives up from Richmond to see her and handles her finances because he's in banking. Mm-hmm. And he really does, and he makes all her doctor's appointments and takes her to the doctor's appointment, yada, yada, yada. But she's mad at him because he moved to Richmond. It didn't fit in with her worldview.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, well, I hope you do remember that we offered to make you an apartment in our house where Rich's office used to be. And you could have had your own living room, you could have had your own bedroom, your own den. The only thing we weren't going to build you was a kitchen because it's 4 steps up to my kitchen, which is big. Yeah. So you could have had that. Your own bathroom, your own front door if you wanted. Yeah. I said, and you said no. And she said... You said
you didn't want to come to New York.
That's right. I don't like New York. Mm-hmm. So, and she said, well, you should have just told me that's what you were going to do. I said, not in this lifetime. Not ever, not in this lifetime. And then my brother from Richmond had offered to build her a grandma space in his house. Brand new house he was building. She didn't want any part of it. So... the next best thing was the assisted living place where she had already put in a deposit. Now she tells me she'd rather be in New York. Now she's too fragile to move to New York. So I told her, well, I'm sorry, Mom, but that ship has sailed. Yeah. Good try. And next time I'll know. Yeah. In the next life. Anyway, it's been a heck of a weekend. She's been coming up with all kinds of pronouncements. I did tell her that my Richmond brother and I have decided that she needs a sitter.
She needs a lady's companion.
That's it. And so my brother has started working with the company where we had gotten help from my dad. And he thinks he'll be able to find someone to sit with her between 8 in the morning and 6 at night, because she's really no longer mobile.
I was going to say, he could also reach out to the church. The church probably might have, because I mean, we have lists of people for that kind of thing.
Right, but I mean, he had good luck with this agency. That's good. So I'm going to
let it, yeah, if he doesn't, I'm just saying right. That's another
avenue.
Yeah.
So I think with a companion, she seemed to be up on the idea, because at least that way she always had someone right there to beck and call for bathroom, for running and fetching and doing all of this other kind of stuff. And when she falls asleep, she falls asleep. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
So I drove down on Friday morning. Yes. I think I got to her by 2:30.
Thereabouts.
3:30. I got to the hotel at 3, checked in, and got to my mother by 3:30. Stayed until 7:30.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to drive much after dark because my ability to get lost is high.
I'm just upset that I was ill, so I couldn't come with you at least.
Know. You were still kind of froggy.
It was
at that point. You still had mucus.
I mean, today's the first day I don't have colors.
Well, that's good. Anyway, we had this great big discussion.
Yes, we did.
And I decided you're still showing symptoms of a cold,
which is not
a good thing to bring down to the 96-year-old.
Agreed.
So I drove down by myself. Had a lovely time in the hotel. Couldn't get any internet, so I used my phone. For some reason, it wasn't connecting to that room.
I'm not gonna and so she had a great time on Friday at the hotel, and I know she did. Because I texted her, because I decided to finish the wallpaper in one of our rooms.
And I'm up at midnight.
And you're up. I knew you were up, but I wasn't sure if you were watching a movie or something, so I was like, you know what, I'm not.
I think.
Right. So, and because we don't typically FaceTime, I didn't want to just automatically FaceTime you. I wanted to, give you warning. But I was like, my neurodivergent butt decided that I could wallpaper an interior corner without any knowledge, without looking up how you're supposed to do this. I just was no.
I've always done it.
Hold on. You can't. You're not supposed to just wrap it around the corner.
You're not.
No,
because it might be off kilter.
Yeah. Yes.
So you butt it.
So
we'll learn something.
What you're supposed to do. And what I ended up doing after I tried to wrap it around the corner was I took it down, I put it, so this was all peel and stick, so I put it back onto a sheet, the backing,
the peel and stick,
that I had taken off, and what you're supposed to do is and this is for all types of wallpaper, you're supposed to, so it depends on how the corner is.
Yes.
Typically, you should be putting the paper on the wall going, if you're facing the corner, you have a wall along
one shoulder,
and then you're facing a wall.
Right.
The wall that's going along should go behind the wall that's facing. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that with how my paper was set up because I was coming the other direction.
Right.
So what you do is you measure how much space is between the last full panel and the corner, and you add approximately, so you measure that and you find the largest distance.
Okay.
And then you add 5 to 10 millimeters to that.
To make the corner round.
To make the corner slightly around.
Right.
And, but also remember, if you're not butting your wallpaper, you do also have to take into account the little bit of overlap that you're going to have. So first, also, don't hang your wallpaper, but place it without removing the backing so you can figure out that dimension. And add the 5 to 10 millimeters. And then you lay it out on the floor and you mark either with a pencil or with a scoring device, which I think works better with more typical wallpapers versus the peel and stick. Peel and stick you have to kind of mark because it doesn't really mark. It doesn't like crease well.
Right.
So, or at least this one didn't because it was black with a design on it. So, so I marked it with a pencil. I then cut it. I then installed it. You then measure the remaining amount of paper you have for that panel.
Right. You
measure out from the corner. You give yourself, I don't know if you give yourself another, like, 5 centimeters. I can't remember. I found a very nice man on YouTube, a nice British man on YouTube, a professional decorator.
Oh, good.
As they call themselves in...
not professional wall hangers?
Right, they're not. They're decorators.
Okay.
And so then you put a plumb line where that next sheet should be.
Start.
Should end or start.
Right.
And you then have it level
there
to that. So
and
now the rest of your wall is now plumb. But that means your corner is a little off.
Right.
Because you have a little bit of material that is one behind another.
Right.
Which is fine. And I was very worried about it because the print we have is extremely geometric.
I mean, you could then cut it so that it butts.
Right. You could figure that out, but I was not.
It was late. It was past midnight.
No, this I was doing, and this was like 9 o'clock. This was 10:30. 10:30 is when I finished it.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's the corner. It looks really good. You can't really tell that it gave me such issue. And it now exists with a bookshelf there. So it's essentially covered up.
Moot point.
Yes. But I finished that wall, which meant that was an entire evening of knitting that I did not get done. But
that's impressive.
I wanted to get it done while Ben was out.
Right, because then you don't have extra help.
Right, but when we do the bedroom, we're going to do the bedroom wall together.
Okay.
But since I had started this one by myself, I wanted to finish it by myself.
All right.
I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it.
Right.
And I think it will go well together to do the other one because it's not as geometric.
It's not as busy.
The other thing I realized is I don't know that I've seen this print installed in any, like, I've looked it up and I don't think I've seen anyone having installed it. And it's also printed in one long vertical roll. So I'm not actually sure because I had some issues getting all of the triangles to line up.
Right.
I'm not sure that it printed that they do.
Huh.
Because it's not printed side to side, like panels like this. It's printed in one long line, and you cut them, and they're supposed to match. Like, maybe the math works, but you never, a printer is a printer, so...
Yeah, that's true.
It was just a funny anecdote. Not saying anything. That's another thing I did want to say. I really enjoyed what?
Uber Eats is now giving me weather reports.
Oh, good. This company we used was Wall Blush. I really enjoy their quality of their product. I removed and installed panels multiple times. Because it was a dark panel, there are some places where the black has kind of removed, so there are white spots, but I can fix that with a Sharpie.
That's right.
I don't think with other prints it would have been as obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I think the quality is good. I think the peel and stick is really good. Like, as I said, I have removed and reinstalled panels multiple times during the evening and did not have, I had 1 or 2 spots that like came up, but I think those are also just they weren't well painted anyways.
Look, as long as you're happy with it, then it's fine.
Well, and I'm just saying, if anyone wants to use Wall Blush, I think that,
it's a great choice.
It's a good option. And they have decent sales. Look out for a sale.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was what I did on Friday.
Okay.
And why I needed your I reached out and I was like, Mom, are you still up?
You should call.
I should have called.
If I'm on the
but I
iPad,
was panicking, and so I just...
Right, well, I'm on the iPad. It doesn't come up with messages.
Okay. I know for
and my phone is set on silent.
Yeah, I know.
But it'll ring on my watch.
I know, but you didn't have your watch on.
Right.
You texted me that you didn't have your watch on.
It was charging.
Yeah, which is fine. It's fine. It's fine. And
but the phone call would have come up on the iPad.
Yeah. So next time I know. But I found a YouTube video that I understood.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
And I'm using my iPad more and more. I actually downloaded Adobe Illustrator for the iPad. And I have a...
You have a touch... No, it's
a Jotter. It's called a Jotter, I think.
Yeah, it's called a Jot Pro.
Which I bought years ago and never used.
Interesting.
And but I think if it works, it'll work like an iPen.
Yeah, I mean, I also have I have an off-brand Apple Pencil.
So anyway,
I'll put it in my knitting bag tonight.
I think it needs a battery or two. Looks like.
I was gonna say mine charges off of the iPad.
Right. So anyway,
I will bring that.
I think that with using the iPad, I'll then be able to draw the charts or the stitches
symbols
on the grids that are easier. I will say, since I had to run down and see my mom, there was obviously no charting going on this weekend. The chart for my cable cowl is not right. And now I finally understand it. The woman who started the test knit was very sweet.
So thank you very much if you're watching.
Yes. And I realized that I was writing it as if it was circular knitting. Somewhat.
You
off.
wrote it for garter for some reason.
I wrote it. It's made sense in my head. I'm dyslexic.
Yeah,
so
I get it, but
but it's not right.
No.
So I will fix it tomorrow and Tuesday and get the right chart up. The written instructions are correct.
Okay.
So apparently she was working off of those. If you wonder what I'm doing, I cut the neck off of my second Moma. So this is my first Moma. And I really do like the neck that I made on this. I did not like the neck I experimented with on my second Moma.
Because it was stockinette, I'm realizing.
It was stockinette, and it was floppy. So that when I wore my Moma, it actually drug the whole sweater down in the front, and I hated it. So, and it was the same color, and it's a lovely color, but it's a bland color. And if you know anything about me, I don't like bland colors. I'm not a greige person.
You're not a greige person.
No. So I had this, which is, I think I have a note
somewhere. It's over
somewhere.
there. It's that.
This. No, it's not.
No, it's not?
No, I don't believe so. I do not believe it is. Could be. Yes, it is, actually. It's Molly Girl.
Baseline.
I was going to call it Bassline, but could be Baseline.
I think it's Baseline.
Could be Baseline. Yes, you're right. That is it. Anyway, and so I'm using Molly Girl for the collar. I'm going to use most of it. I cut the collar off. My mother was amazed. So I cut that big floppy collar off. I hated it. And I tried to unpick it, and it wouldn't unpick at all. So I cut it off.
Good.
And now I'm rewinding it because I think what I'm going to do is I'm doing most of the collar in the Molly Girl. And then I may do maybe a ½ an inch at the very end of this collar.
In
this, which is Chincoteague. And then I was thinking of saving about this much of the Molly Girl and putting it and dividing it up and either putting it on the sleeves or at the hem so that I've got multicolors at the top and multicolors on the bottom, or I could do multicolors on the sleeves. I'm going to decide.
Yeah.
You know, I'll look at it and decide, but I really found I wasn't happy with the collar.
Yeah.
It just was too sloppy. Whereas this is a rib and it has a lot more body.
Yeah.
And I'm actually drawing in this collar a little more. So I've done several decreases to bring the collar in. And I think that's all the decreases I'm going to do. And then I will start blossoming it out, which is what I did with this. When I did this collar, I started off on a size 5 needle, then went to a 4, a 3, 4, 3, 2, and the 2 is what this whole thing was knitted in. Can I help you?
Yes. Darning needle. Okay.
So this is a size 2 needle, and then I will go up to a 3 and a 4 and a 5. And then I should get the wider collar, but at least having brought in the neck edge, because it was just too sloppy. It was an idea that just didn't work well. So I'm going to work on my chart for the cable pattern. I'm going to fix this neck. I told you last week that I had submitted a pattern to KnitPicks. Well, they wrote me back today, yesterday, saying, we got so many offers of patterns, we can't use yours. Fine. It's another pattern that we can put out. Because I actually wrote a pattern for a cowl that would expand into a hood. And I have both a DK and a fingering weight version. So, in the wintertime, if winters become like they once were again, it is nice to be able to cover your head.
Today was we were in Midtown.
Windy?
We were in Central Park today, and it was extremely windy over by the we walked around the reservoir. Ooh, it was windy.
So this pattern comes up to about inch 13 from the start, and then blossoms very quickly, and you do your lace pattern. And the easy one is where you just have the blossoming kind of on either edge with garter stitch. Or you could have a more advanced version where there's some of the blossoming within the lace pattern. And you've got another lace section of about 12 stitches that is going through the center, as well as more on the edges. And then you get to, I believe it is, I had you do 4 panels, and you end it and move on. So then it was enough to expand over your head. So our test knit for the lace cowl ends tomorrow. Elizabeth's going to help me figure out setting up a web page with Gosadi and then making that pattern active on Ravelry. So that's something else we're going to work on.
That's a next weekend thing.
Yes. We are getting pictures of the cable hat, because once I fix the cable pattern, I can then work on the cable hat pattern and get the decreases. And I realized when I was working on the cable hat, light suddenly dawned on Marblehead that of what people were trying to tell me about the patterning. I was like, yes, you're right. It's a visual, spatial thing, but absolutely right. So fix the one cable pattern, write the cable hat pattern, and then this, which is lovely. Your father's calling it a zebra. I had started, before I realized I had the spatial problem with the cables, I had started working up a vanilla sweater pattern. And what I'm envisioning is like a 3-inch neck on it, 3 to 4 inch neck, so it can fold over, light fold over. And then there's a couple sleeve, contiguous sleeve patterns or instructions that I got at Vogue this year. I thought I'd pick one and do that for it, so it'll be a slightly sloping shoulder, and then it goes into the sleeve. And then it's pretty much vanilla net all the way down. So it's, cast off for your sleeves once you get down to a certain point, and then continue down. Of course, what I do is I go down at 2 inches and finish my sleeve. Anyway, I'm going to work up a sweater pattern that'll be my plain vanilla sweater pattern. There's something that we call this.
It's like your sloper.
Thank you. In sewing, it's a sloper. So it'll be my sweater sloper pattern. And then from that, then I can make changes for the different contiguous sleeves, shoulder designs, and then we can fit in the lace and the cables and all of that, as well as the dress pattern.
I think the lace will be really nice in the dress.
Behind us,
Oh, yes.
I bought yarn.
I have a lot to talk about. I still haven't finished talking about last weekend when I was away.
This has to do with Knit Picks. So when Knit Picks put out their call for patterns, I said, I really want to make that dress too. So I bought stuff for a dress. So anyway, you go ahead and finish. This is what's been happening to me. I got dinged for my Knit Picks pattern, but that's okay because it really is, it's another pattern that we can put out, and we'll probably put it out for next. I don't know that we have to do a test knit since it's an expansion from the lace cowl already. Okay. So we may be able to put out, and at that point we can do the DK lace cowl too. Or we can start with the one, we can figure that out. I then take a week and do all the instructions for the DK cowl. Because I got it downstairs. I've done a whole...
We can talk about it, yes.
Anyway, you can see I'm still burbling on with ideas. So exciting. Richard is like gobsmacked. He says, and what are you making now? And how is this going to work? And what's the next pattern? He's really kind of into this.
Good.
Yes, he really is, which is really nice. So anyway, you can talk.
So, you saw what I finished while I was away. I also started one of the Subway color socks.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yep, this is a yarn that Michelle gave me. Because it's the different colors of the Subway lines.
Like to Seattle where there's a knitting store?
I didn't realize we were going to go where there was a knitting store in Seattle.
No, I'm just saying, instead of calling me asking if there's anything I want, you just buy 2 skeins of something.
Yeah, I panicked, okay?
Okay, well, I'm just saying, as a rule of thumb.
Yeah, I know.
2 skeins, because I can make a cowl or
now
something.
You make cowls, yeah.
Well, I can test my patterns in that.
I know. So
I could do a bodice and a skirt, type of thing.
So remember how I was getting going on my Mira? I separated for the sleeves.
Yay!
I am currently missing 1 skein of yarn that I have wound up, and I don't know where it is. I'm hoping it is somewhere in my desk area, and we will find it now that I have my new desk to put together.
You got a new desk. Great.
Yeah, I did. It's a sit-stand desk.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
I'm not a sit-stand desk person, so you'll have to be excited for yourself.
I am excited for myself.
That's good, because it makes no sense to me, but
I'm
70, so
yeah. So I got like 1.5 inches.
That's nice. I love the colors. I hope you find the ball.
I do too. I mean, I have 3 skeins of it. I have 4.
Feeling that if you took everything out of your study.
Oh, we are slowly getting there. The study
one by one, that you would find it like we found it when we moved you out of your apartment.
Like when we found things, moving out of the apartment. Yeah. Right. No, we're getting there. And I
wish I could knit faster.
I know, me too. So I did that. So that was that. And while I was out in Seattle, we went to Bainbridge.
Oh, yeah, she texted me. I'm out in Seattle. We're going to Bainbridge Island. And I'm going, isn't there a knitting store?
And I wasn't sure if we were going to make it there because that wasn't our
It was late
first
in the afternoon or something?
Yeah.
She's dropping
Just
things.
dropped the package. And so
I was going to vacuum. There are dust bunnies under this. I was going to vacuum this weekend. Only I went and ran and saw my mother.
So I went to the Lamb and Kid. And it is a glorious little shop.
On an island.
Yes, on Bainbridge Island. It is right up the road from the ferry terminal. So it's very accessible. And it's just super cute. And they have their own Lamb and Kid yarns, as well as Diamond Point, I think is the other name of their yarn. And that is also one of their yarns. So they have a few that are Ben friendly.
This is very nice.
Yeah, so I got this. This is merino linen silk cotton called Cottage Worsted. And I got this as the main color. And then I got these 3 for 3 of the 4 contrast colors for a sweater that I have had on my, or like in my things I want to knit for a while. And let me see if I can pull it up. Where is it? Come on. Where are you?
By the way, here. Interweave Knitting. If you join their knitting or crafting group, I'm getting emails from them every day.
So it's the Yoke Lore sweater, which was released earlier this year, and I actually ended up going with colors that were similar to the pattern.
Very pretty.
It's very pretty. I do need to get a teal color. I think I have one in stash, and if not, I have some options. Unfortunately, there is no teal that Cottage comes in, but I do have that like gray, green, blue from Magpie that I made that one sweater out of that I think I have enough of, but I'll check I have to check stash. But this is like really,
it's nice.
It's gonna be lovely.
It really will be lovely, and Ben is okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's 50% merino and then 20% cotton, 15% silk, or 20% linen, 15% silk, 15% cotton.
It has a lovely hand to it.
It does. It's a little cottony when you feel it, but I think it's going to be lovely to wear.
That is not wool. It's pretty good.
And then I got one of my colors is going to be this Spin Cycle Trin yarn, which was just so cute, and I couldn't figure out what to do with it, and so it was on sale. So I did get it on sale.
I looked at the colors that were there, and just without being there,
it was.
Spin Cycle doesn't send me.
No, it doesn't. But I just wanted
and that's me.
Yeah,
I'm sure lots of people find it to be fascinating.
So that's what I did. I'm still thinking they have a like chunk or a bulky. Maybe it's an Aran weight. What is it? Mohair or Surrey alpaca kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
That I am thinking might be something that I order and have shipped. It's called Big Birdie. I mean, they have it in multiple weights. Yeah, it's 79% baby alpaca, 21% silk. And
Ben's okay with alpaca?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but they have a sweater that they've done in stripes that's really pretty.
Oh, it sounds lovely.
Yeah, they have they've done it in a solid, but a bunch of people have done it in stripes, and it's really cute. Yeah. Like,
very nice.
Yeah, so I'm debating that. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm gonna do what I bought. And it was actually really funny. We ended up going to the like yarn store that's like in Katie's neighborhood too. But we specifically Sarah bought things for herself, and then Katie bought stuff to make for her soon to be little one. And then we found a pattern for it's called the Girls Victorian coat. And it's so
beautiful.
Cute. And we saw it in the shop, and so I've Miss Bab's stash yarn, Miss Bab's Yowza that I'm going to use.
Very nice.
That I have. I'm going to use that.
Great.
And it's a deep purple. And my friend Katie already said that, because I was like, oh, I could support, I can buy some, and she was like, no, if you have stash for it, please make me one. But like stash. So that's exciting, especially because the little one is due in about a month, or is due in the middle of April. Katie is, she's starting to have symptoms that are leading her to believe she is close to labor.
Hicks.
Some Braxton Hicks, but also other signs where she's declared she's no longer driving.
Okay.
Well, because a lot of her driving has to do with the highway, and she doesn't want to suddenly go into labor and be having contractions while driving. This is her own, which is fine.
Fine.
And she's able to do that. And she has requested that her husband work from home starting this week. or at least not 45 minutes away.
Okay.
So they're very cute. It's very exciting for them. I think it's going to be hilarious watching the two of them become parents, and I'm very excited for it. And I'm very excited about their little one. And also because I'm very excited to knit her a whole bunch of stuff.
Another little one.
Another little one to knit things for. So I've been working on that. And then I've talked about the Fittonia sweater before. I made this swatch. I washed this swatch. I am close to gauge with this swatch. I decided, for giggles, let's knit a swatch on one size larger. So I do have to put this through the wash, and then I will decide
which one
I'm going to do.
Okay.
I actually helped a friend last weekend work through the pattern and figure out what size to knit based on their swatches. They did 3 different swatches. So we then decided what fabric they liked best, and also taking into account the intention of the pattern.
Right.
And the intentional tension of the gauge of the pattern.
Right.
Because I'm not the one to ask that sort of question, because I'm like, you know what, if you like it, you'll wear it.
Yeah.
But I understand where they were coming from, saying...
Like, I just cut a neck off a sweater.
Right. But this has columns that are supposed to look a certain way.
And how see-through do you want it?
Right. But also it's how close together do you want the column? Like, you know, there's a reason behind it.
And how much ease do you like in your knitted goods?
Yeah. So this is going to be fun. So I helped that. And so actually one of our group already has finished that sweater, and another one is very close to finishing that sweater. And then the others of us are just starting it.
Was this the group that's going to start the breathing space?
Eventually, yes.
Oh, okay. So I have time.
You have time.
Okay. Because I certainly have yarn for one.
Oh, I know.
I have yarn for 6.
I know you do.
I do. I don't have it on today, but I took one with me. I do like the Moma. It's fun to knit. All right, now can I talk about unwrapping?
Yes, now you can talk about yarn, because then I only have one more thing that I've been working on.
Okay. So this is the yarn that I got for a dress.
Uh-huh.
It's cotton.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was going to make the dress.
The lace?
No, the dress. The Henley top.
Oh, okay.
And the
ribbed skirt.
Bottom in cotton.
Ah, yes.
Because I have now 2 knitted dresses.
Yes.
I throw them on in the winter. Now you have to understand that during the winter I go around tights all the time.
Yes.
But in the morning, who wants to necessarily get fully dressed just to go out and get the newspaper when you're going to come in, have breakfast, have your coffee, kind of lazy around? I know, I'm a head case. This is my summer. This then can become a summer. Go out and get the newspaper dress. So that's why it's in cotton and a summery color. So I got that so that I can work out my vanilla pattern for a dress. And then since I was on the Knit Picks website.
And because you were going to...
this is more for the dress.
Submit.
And because I was going to submit the patterns, I got... And they were asking for patterns in stroll, so I got 2. Since the skeins that I had been working with were 100 gram, Knit Picks often comes in 50 grams. So I got 2 stroll in a really nice burgundy.
Yeah.
And so so at least now I have some Knit Picks stroll. And then this was, I believe, a DK or worsted.
Sport.
It says sport?
It says sport right there.
Oh, thank you. Not where I'm looking. So they were also asking for about sport weight. And so I bought this for sport weight. So again, this is for So this is for pattern development, and this is for pattern development, because apparently Knit Picks puts out requests for patterns fairly often. So I'm going to have some Knit Picks on hand. what makes sense to me. I had another email from Gosadi this week, and there's another group that has a request out for a pattern. But nice. I think I'm going to settle in a bit.
Yeah.
We'll get the lace cowl up.
Yep.
Next weekend, we'll get the Gosadi page up.
Mm-hmm.
I will fix the cable chart and just keep working away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to say, Vogue this year
really lit a fire under you.
It's been one of the most exciting ones. I mean, I think the first one I went to was incredible. But in terms of how I can expand myself, this has been really fantastic. And it suits my worldview of sitting and knitting.
Yes.
So anyway, so this is a dress.
Yes.
And then these are pattern development. And I just have to keep expanding. What can I tell you?
Well, and then the last thing I'm working on is in my lap, and it's a test knit. And it is a summer top. And I'm knitting it in cotton and then a cotton alpaca blend that I, again, just stash dove for. So this is the front. And it'll be a little drop shoulder situation. I've got a few more rows, and then I put it on hold, and then I start the back from the shoulders. And then you knit around under the underarms. I'm knitting a bigger size, but that is only because she needed testers for that size, and it's supposed to have positive ease, and so I gave her two sizes that I was comfortable testing, and making, and then obviously wearing, and I figured this will even, depending on how it, blocks out as a sweater or as a top, it'll be really nice no matter what. Just be a little bit baggy, so it'll depend on...
It's wool or cotton?
Cotton. Cotton, and then so this is cotton.
Right.
This is a cotton alpaca.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it feels different.
Yeah. I just didn't have enough of a cotton in my DK cotton stash to do that. And I didn't have enough of another color to do it all in this one. So
I'm gonna have to get
I kind of like the bright the lilac purple with the navy and the gray.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I wasn't sure.
The gray looks green to me, but
it is a gray, but it does have an olivey tone.
Okay.
And more gray, drab gray kind of view. But yes. Okay. So that's what I've been working on.
We've both been busy.
We've been very busy.
So I'm going to fix the cable pattern. Then I can...
And that doesn't count the fact that I'm also trying to find that one skein of yarn. And I'm also trying to find the yarn that I put away very safely for my Traveler sweatshirt. Because I really would love to make that. And just cannot find... I can find part of the yarn. I cannot find the other part of the yarn. And I'm like...
It's in the apartment someplace.
It's somewhere. So...
It's someplace.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Manhattan College on Tuesday, haircut on Wednesday, reading at church for Monday, Thursday. Friday, it's Good Friday, and we have to decide whether we're going to church or not. Saturday,
I'm not. You can't, because I can't go to the noon service.
Right, and I don't think your father can really stand it. So anyway, we'll see. Yeah. Then there's Easter Eve, and I'm reading for Easter Eve. So.
Yeah, and I volunteered, but I haven't been told if I'm reading or not.
Okay. It's a fun service.
It's my favorite.
It's a fire pit outside. So we certainly plan to go to Easter Eve.
Yeah.
And that's this week. It's a busy week.
Well, and then it's Easter service, which I don't know if we'll go to Sunday morning service, but currently we're just planning on going to Easter Vigil on Saturday. Yeah. And today was Palm Sunday. I had house guests over, and we ended up meeting up with other of their friends who were visiting the city for breakfast this morning at 9 a.m. But we ended up passing an Episcopal church.
Yes.
When they were doing their procession. And I stood at the corner of a street in Midtown and sang All Glory, Laud, and Honor to my heart's content.
That's good.
While we stopped and got coffee. And it was great. I'm a little sorry I didn't make it to St. Stephen's, but, you know, there was something about... It was so funny.
Being able to join
we were walking to this coffee shop, and
all of a sudden
I looked and I was like, okay, we're passing a church. Cool. And I was like, and I looked again and I was like, it's an Episcopal church. And then I looked and I was like, it's 11 o'clock. They started at 11 o'clock. I was like, we're about to have procession. And like all of a sudden we go into the coffee shop. And now we're waiting for our drinks, and I said to our friends, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and be really obnoxious for about 2 minutes. I will be right back. I'm just going to go and sing with the procession for a minute, because my soul needs this. And so I did. I went and I stood out on a corner, and I sang, and it was great. You know, it was one of those moments where I was like, all right, this is good.
We are a community.
This is good. Yeah, and then we ended up walking around Central Park, which was lovely.
That is lovely.
I was hunting some cherry blossoms because it's cherry blossom season
in DC,
right? And what I found out, this is going to be just an aside because I learned this and I think it's very interesting. In DC, the reason why the cherry blossom season is so short is because they only have one type of cherry blossom tree.
Given by the Japanese government.
No. There's not all of theirs were gifted by the Japanese government in DC.
Some were.
Some, not all.
Okay.
In New York, we have 4 different types of cherry blossom trees, all which have been gifted by the Japanese government.
Interesting.
To the either state or city, and they are in multiple locations. We also have I don't know where in New York City right now, where it is, but Ben looked it up, and we have a specific winter flowering that is a recent gift from the Japanese government. So I was like, we should go find the cherry blossoms in Central Park, because I'd been seeing some people post some, and it ended up being the early cherry blossoms, and they're like the little like darker ones, and because of the storms and the cold, they weren't really out where we went today, but there will be other areas and other places we can look, and
later
other places, and typically the like ones that are more like the ones that are down in DC or out in Seattle, or, you know, that you see for cherry blossoms in New York typically bloom in April.
Okay.
So
the cherry blossoms in DC, which is around the tidal basin, are in trouble because of climate change and saltwater incursion. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be digging up the cherry blossom, not all the cherry blossom trees, but some of the cherry blossom trees, and replanting them. There's one cherry blossom tree that's already been affected by the salt incursion, from what I gathered from the newspaper down there, and they are going to be taking cuttings from it and then trying to resprout it so that, and then replant it. So I found it interesting that the tidal basin is having some real problems, but cherry blossoms are so important down there.
Well, and I thought they were so pretty, and
they're very pretty.
We don't typically go outside a lot in the winter because it's cold and gross.
Blustery.
So I'm trying to make sure that we get out, and honestly, Ben has lived here for how many years now? And this is his first time in Central Park was today.
Well, I mean, we used to go and walk the Parkinson's walk. I mean, we had things that we were going to do.
So we will have to go again, because he hasn't seen like the Bethesda fountain. I'm realizing he hasn't seen the things that, you know,
really people talk about. Did you see Belvedere?
We did not go. No, we went up the west side and came in at 86th, walked over to the reservoir, walked up and around the reservoir to 96th, and got out at 96th and took the 456 home. Or down and home.
Mm-hmm. Because then there's the Poet Walk.
Mm-hmm.
There's what?
And
then,
Sheep
of course,
Meadow and Great Lawn.
And the zoo.
Yeah. So.
There's tons of things.
But that's how I found out that we have 4 different types of cherry blossoms in New York.
That's
and
really
so
cool.
You have multiple opportunities to see cherry blossoms. And they're not just in Central Park. They're in multiple other parts of Manhattan as well as the other boroughs.
Good to know.
Yeah.
That is great to know.
So, with that, I think we'll weave in some ends, and we will talk to you all
probably next
week
since we'll be together. Yeah. Yes, and maybe I'll finish. Oh, I have a goal of finishing my neck.
Oh,
this is Easter colors.
Yes, it is.
So maybe we'll see.
Maybe.
All right.
We'll talk to you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.